And he eventually got fired for doing it.
But what? What?
This week on the Trailblazers, we have illustrious radio and television broadcaster, Michael Anthony Cuffe. And I'm so excited because he has been someone that was instrumental in my career when I just started out in media. Stay tuned to hear his inspirational story. How is it that he used the pain of his parents' separation to propel him into his career, and some crucial rules and strategies for success that you can use to transform your life no matter your situation or circumstance. Stay tuned. What's your word to them?
I would say to fight. Fight for your dreams, fight for your purpose.
A life that inspires you, that motive that you aspire to be.
Right? Meaningful and critical. It's not a waste time movement, yeah, man.
In my humble opinion, is become very comfortable with yourself.
Very important. You know, the saying in Jamaica, one hand can't clap.
You forgive yourself for allowing people to mistreat you.
Disciplines that we need to embody.
You just have to work at it and be committed. Everyone.
And it's scary to have all of that fall away from you. And you have to celebrate those wins. Work with fitness clients.
For guidance, rely on Christ for support.
And no rush. I did it. I made my move into entrepreneurship at 40.
So scared that when...
What, last comments would you want to share with
you? Have your core values, you do the right things, it'll fall in place for you.
Hi, I'm Michael Anthony Cuffe, and you're watching the Trailblazers with Tamara McKayle.
Hi, Michael. It is a pleasure to have you joining us on the Trailblazers. I am so excited.
Oh, not more than me. Thank you for inviting me, Tamara, to be a part of the Trailblazers. I ever since you extended the invitation, I've been looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. And this is it means so much to me because I was sharing with a friend of mine that when I just started out in media at 19, going on 20, I was at CVM in that competition, the anchor. And you were one of the judges on the program, and I ended up winning that competition. And trust me, it was just so exciting meeting you.
Why, the pleasure was mine. One of the things that I remembered about that program is that, when we were looking for the next broadcaster, we were trying to identify young anchors, okay? Mm-hmm. And I remember when you actually appeared in front of the panel of judges. And when I heard you, I thought to myself, because I pride myself on having a special ability to spot talent ahead of time. So a number of the persons that I have identified or encouraged, they have gone on to big things, or who have worked with me in my area, which is broadcasting. Yeah. They've gone on to bigger things. They have their own shows, or they are in managerial positions. Yeah. And I feel very good about that, because being able to inspire someone, to live their potential, to be able to see their potential and to be able to actually realize it, I think for me, that is one of my greatest satisfactions.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. And I have told you that I'm a big lover of not only you in terms of your entire career as a broadcaster, because we all know, especially the ladies, we love your voice. You're like, ooh, and then you're handsome on top of it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my God. Thank you.
But I really love your program, your current program that you host, Life and Relationships. It's so inspirational. But before I even go into that, tell us about your story, because we all see, we hear of Michael Anthony Cuffe, we know of him, but many of us don't know the man behind the camera or the man behind the radio. So tell us about that.
Many years ago, I remember Jesse Jackson, when he was running for president of the United States. And he said, many people see the house I'm running to, but what they don't see is the house that I'm running from.
Wow.
Okay? And I think in just that one line, it actually captured the essence of the lives of a lot of persons, you know, including myself. Because a lot of folks, they see Michael Anthony Cuffe now, the broadcaster. They see me at a point when I was at my pinnacle, and now I refer to myself as the glow of the setting sun. Okay, kind of. Right? But the whole idea is that, yeah, it's been quite a journey getting to where I am. And a lot of folks, they see the end of they see you at the end of the journey, but what they don't see is what the journey itself. My passion for broadcasting began when I was around 14 years old.
Wow.
Because at that time, I found I was pretty much alone, myself and my brother at that time. We didn't have the direction of mother and father, because they separated while, we were very young, still very young. So we were between relatives, grandmothers and that kind of, people like that. And for me at nights, when you don't really have the that kind of closeness, attachment to parents, it gets very lonely, and so you seek to find solace and comfort in other areas. So for me, I fell in love with the radio very early, because I went to sleep by the radio. I remember I had this, what was called a crystal set. It's a crystal set is like one of these little radios, and it just had an earpiece, and you had to attach it to a line in order to get it to work. And I would listen to that crystal set night after night after night, and I would fall asleep to it. And so, I heard amazing broadcasters on RGR at the time, of course, and there was some amazing broadcasters with with amazing voices, and they were so comforting, and they were just like there, to take me through those hours that I was still awake. And when that became very much a part of me, and I've always thought to myself, when I that's what I'd like to do. I want to be a broadcaster, because I want to provide the same comfort to others in the loneliest times of the night, which usually is when you feel the loneliness more. And I eventually made that promise to myself, and over a long period of time, it took me to get there. But I did get there, and I did do an overnight show, and I did use a similar format where I was just that friend in the middle of the night and beyond that would provide comfort for persons. So that's where my passion and my love for broadcasting began. It started with the radio.
But that is so interesting, and I appreciate you sharing that story, that it was dealing with your parents' separation and the pain of that, and then seeking solace, and then the radio being that comfort in the nights. Because, for example, when I used to work like very late at nights, which at times I still do, but not so late anymore, and I would be driving home from my previous news job, and I would be listening to your program, and it's so like positive and inspirational, especially after a rough day. I would be like, wow, I can do anything. I feel good in myself. So I like that you put that in context, because it really helps to realize that you have been fulfilling your purpose throughout your journey.
Absolutely. There was this one broadcaster, for example, a guy by the name of Alan Keyes. Okay, long guy. You would never remember. And he used to have this opening line for his program, and it started by saying, "Fabulous cities are mine to loot." fabulous cities are mine to loot, queens of the earth to wed, the couch of a king, my bed. And there, far beyond the sunset, stands my house, to the ends of the earth and beyond. The drifter's gold is mine to spend, for I am the vagabond. This is Alan Keyes. And it was just, that was the tone of the program going right through the night. It even just blew me away, man. I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
And boy, you had been all just now saying it like so poetic and
these guys, they had style. Style is very important in what one does. And I think one of the things that we should all strive for in life is to find our own style. Because what tends to pass for style these days is imitating other people. What I call it's like a herd mentality. Right? So finding your style is it's one of the most, it's difficult, but it's one of the most rewarding things you can ever do. Who am I? Really? When there's no one else around, who really am I? That's the key.
I really do agree with that, because it's important to be authentic and be yourself. Because I was sharing with a group recently that I was doing a workshop with, and saying that there's this quote that says that you are your only self, or you are you, and that is your superpower. So there is no one else like Michael Anthony Cuffe. So no one else will have your style, as you mentioned, and the way you do your own thing. Even if there would be millions of other broadcasters, you have your own authentic personality and style. I like that word.
It goes to the heart of your show tomorrow. A trailblazer is someone who they don't follow the beaten path. They go where there's no path and blaze a trail of their own.
Wow.
Okay, that's the whole idea. That's what trailblazers do. Okay, they don't follow the well-worn path. They take the road less traveled.
Indeed. So, okay, so you identified at 14 what you wanted to do, but tell us, how did you manage then the path, the journey to get there? Because I'm sure you had to understand at one point you were in Canada. So tell us, how did all of this unfold?
Oh, well, before I got to Canada, actually, there was another radio personality on radio, a guy by the name of Philip Jackson. And Philip Jackson was like one of the greatest broadcasters that this country has ever produced. Not only was he was brilliant in terms of he brought a wealth of knowledge. He was well-read. He was articulate. He was a trailblazer in the sense that talk shows, he had the first talk show, a show called What's Your Grounds? Okay. and he was one of the broadcasters that I truly admired because of all the things that I said about him. And unfortunately, Philip had a mental condition. He was manic depressive. And he felt, Philip was at the one stage at the pinnacle of his profession. And then as his condition deteriorated, he just lost touch with reality. And he was like walking the streets of Kingston. And that's when I met him, when everybody else was sort of staying away from him at that point. Because when you're on top of your game and things are happening, a lot of people are around you. When you're no longer in that position, that's when everybody tends to drift away, right? And so at that point was when I gravitated towards Philip. And Philip was able to teach me and inspire me, even in that mental state, in such a way that until this day, people who are, supposedly knowledgeable and celebrated have not been able to do that. Okay, and so he he kept inspiring me, and I told him about this desire I had, and he says, hey, look, man, I think you have the ability to do it. So he, in addition to, I had this notion of what I wanted to do, but Philip saw what it took to be a great broadcaster. He knew the hallmarks. And he kept encouraging me to go ahead. He says, yes, you can do it, you know? So he saw in me what at that point I had not yet realized in myself. And he kept encouraging me. And I think they were trying to rehabilitate Philip, because Philip, by that time he was off the air, and he, as I said, he was in a, you know, mentally he was not all together. But the amazing thing about Philip is that he could still, even at that point, he could still, you put him behind a microphone, and it was just like, he was there, okay? And one night, I really wanted to be on air. I would, you know, I looked forward to it. And I used to accompany him to this radio station where he was working, and I won't mention any names here, right? But Philip, he said to me, look, I'm going to put you on. And Philip moved over one, put me in the seat, and said, go. All right? And you talk about baptism by fire. Yeah. And I was on for like about maybe 10 minutes or so.
How old were you at that point?
At that point, I was in my 20s, about 25 or so. Huh? And no, I was younger than that. I was about 20. Let me talk about 20, 21, somewhere around about.
Yes.
And he eventually got fired for doing that.
But what? What?
Yeah, and understandably so, because he really violated the terms of his agreement with the station. Because you can't really be hired to do a program, and then in the middle of it, you kind of parachute someone in there. And I wasn't in there as a guest. He actually put me on.
As a host.
As a host.
A co-host.
Yeah, so there was really no sort of context for me to be there, right? And I was even inside the station without permission as well, you know, because I was, you know, and, you know, I felt badly about that. I felt badly about that. And he kept encouraging me. And I decided that I was, at the time, I was thinking about migrating, you know, and that's when I left for Canada. And he said to me, go ahead, man. He says, look, I will see you at the top.
Wow.
Those are his parting words to me. And I went to Canada, I studied broadcasting, and I was a trailblazer in a number of ways there, because in Canada you had Black broadcasters, but what they would do is they would broker time, like they'd buy an hour of time in an overnight slot kind of thing, when it was really dead time and hardly anyone was listening. Yeah. And they would present a program, and we usually it would be a reggae program kind of thing, and then all the small businesses in Canada would sponsor it. And so they were on air, but they were on for like about an hour. They didn't have really a steady gig to say, well then, yeah, they're hosting a prominent show in a prominent, you know, station kind of thing. And I was the first broadcaster after I graduated to, I got hired in a position, a station called CKMW, in a place called Brampton, Ontario. And I started on an overnight shift. And then I was promoted to doing the morning show.
Nice.
And then there was another station, which a station called CKMW. And I actually, you know, it was very difficult for Black broadcasters to break into the business. And so what would happen is that, as I said, they would buy time here and there kind of thing, but then they were really employed full-time to the station. And I remember this station, CJZ, when they were just opening up, the manager of the owner of the station said, you know, he was asked a question on air in an interview. He said, how come, you know, we don't see Black broadcasters on the, you know, on Toronto stations? What is your station going to do differently? And he said, well, we're looking for persons, but if we can find someone who can, you know, satisfy the criteria for broadcasting, then we'll hire them. And I heard that one line and I decided, you know something? I'm going to take him up on that because he had already made that public in an interview. And I went and his name was Carl, a guy called Carl Redhead. And I went to him and I phoned him up, made the appointment. I think he agreed to see me because I didn't have a black sound. And so he didn't realize who was coming, And when I showed up, he was somewhat surprised, even though he tried to disguise it. But the whole idea is that I said, look, I complimented him on this interview, and I said, look, I heard you say that, if you could find a broadcaster who would be able to meet the criteria, then, you would hire them. And I said, well, you just found it.
Well, talk about confidence.
So, yeah, and he said, you see, and it was confidence, but when you get to a point where people, black persons were held back, not because they were not talented, but because of their color. And so there was some kind of a slight annoyance there. So I said, okay, fine, you said this. Now, here's what I'm proposing. And I outlined a show for him. It was a jazz show called Easy Jazz, because the station was called Easy 97. All right. And I said, okay, fine. Here's the title of the show. It's Easy 97. And here's the type of smooth jazz that I'll be playing. And here's the format that I'm proposing. And as I said, I have a demo here. I'm inviting you to listen to it. So I was fully prepared.
That's what I was just about to say, that even though some would say you made use of the opportunity, but you were very prepared because you had you had your demo, you had your qualifications, and then that helped you in terms of also being very assertive to approaching. So
you see, Tamara, you see what you described there is what people call luck. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. It's not a new line, but a lot of folks can mouth the line, but they don't really get into it to see what it really means. So they keep saying, well, they keep referring to luck. No, it's preparation, when preparation meets opportunity. When I got to him, I had the name. The station was called Easy 97. I wasn't handled. So the program I was going to present was a jazz program, and it was called Easy Jazz. Okay. 2, I had the music, the style of music, because it wasn't really a jazz station, but it was at that time there was there was that easy jazz format just coming in, and I was able to capitalize on that because it blended right into the sound profile of the station. Okay. Definitely. And thirdly, my style ideally suited it. And so therefore, by the time I got to him and I had the demo already, I didn't go in to ask him for a job. I went in and saying, look, here is a show that would fit right into your station. That would be a value added.
Certainly. And you created that, as you mentioned, that trail, you blazed that trail, you added value. And of course, we know you would at some point would have come back to Jamaica and made a name in Jamaica as well for yourself. But one of the things I want to find out from you, Michael, is what has been perhaps the biggest struggle or challenge, in your career, in your journey?
I can't honestly say that I had a rough time doing, breaking into the business. I think the biggest challenge was getting employment on a mainstream radio station in Canada. But outside of that, once I did that and I established myself and I was able to say, well, then, I never referred to myself as a black DJ, because that's what the other persons were doing when they called him a black DJ. And I thought to myself, but I don't hear another white person in the radio refer to himself as a white DJ. And I'm a broadcaster. That's what I am. My color has nothing to do with it. Okay, my color is obvious. I'm a broadcaster. All right. And so labels, I avoid labels because I don't think they're useful in the main. And so I avoid labels. And I don't allow folks to call me things or to give me an identity. I identify myself. And so, you know, because of that, I found that I was able to drive my success. You know, it saved me a lot because I was never going cap in hand asking for anything. I also, you know, there have been people who have inspired in my life, the names I mentioned before. But once they were there, they inspired me. And to be fair, there were a couple of white broadcasters in Toronto that were household names, which I established a friendship and out of respect and relationship with them. I was open. I watched them. I listened to them. I was able to talk to them about what they do, ask them about how they did, you know, what they do. And they were quite open to guiding me and telling me, hey, this is how we do it. This is what happens. This is how you think. This is how you present. And all of these things I was making mental notes at the time. Okay. So I used that information, and then I didn't copy. I emulated for a while. And then eventually I found my own style. My own style emerged from that. All right.
I love that, and that keeps emerging throughout the interview in terms of the importance of having your own style and the importance of being true to yourself in a sense.
Absolutely. Because if you notice, it's the things or people who are unusual that makes the news.
Yes.
For better or for worse. You can't be like everybody. And in order to do that, you have to find yourself, because each individual is unique. And if you can take your identity, you know, as Bo said, to the world, take your uniqueness to the world, yes, it takes courage to do that. But if you are afraid to fail, you can never be successful. If you're afraid of criticism, you can't be successful. Okay? A broadcaster explained it to me this way. He says, in this business, you need the heart of a child and the skin of a crocodile.
Oh, okay. I love that. That is that's like a life lesson.
Yeah. Once you put yourself out there, you're opening yourself up to criticism. So be prepared for that. I remember my son, for example, when he was just about getting ready to do television, because he did television at TVJ for a while. And that's one of the first things I said to him. I said, son, you're going to be compared to me a lot. So get ready for it. All right. I said, also, you're going to be criticized a lot. But if you're not prepared to deal with those things, then before you start, so think long and hard about that.
Certainly.
Okay. But the whole idea is, even with his name tomorrow, he's Michael Anthony Cuffe II. Okay. And I said, you know, one of the things I said to him, look, let no one refer to you as Junior. Because that name, that Junior thing has a way of following you through life. I said, you know, you insist in when you be referred to as Junior. I said, no, I'm Michael Anthony Cuffe II. Okay. So you have to establish your identity. People treat you in accordance to how you treat yourself.
Wow, that is so true, because you have to value yourself, and the value that you place on yourself will also, it's almost kind of like the law of attraction. You attract what you are, in a sense.
I see. Yeah. You know, if you if you respect yourself, yes, then people will respect you.
Yes.
You see? And if you insist on that respect, you can't demand respect, you can command respect. Okay, and so the whole idea is that the easy way to do that is to remain true to yourself. Okay, always try to be in integrity with yourself.
Yes.
Because once you do that, you know the saying, to thine own self be true, and as day follows night, whatever it is. Yeah, it takes a while. It's hard at first, like everything else, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Right. So you asked me about that. Right. So back in the 90s, when I decided to come back to Jamaica, there was a teacher I had at Seneca College where I was trained, a guy named Mike Monty, and he said to me, you know, what do you plan to do, you know, after you graduate? I said, well, I'm going to stay here and then, you know, try to break into the system. And he says, if you don't mind a suggestion, he said, I think you have a sound which is unique. So you don't really sound Canadian, but you're not really Jamaican either, or you don't have it. It's called, they refer to it as a mid-Atlantic sound. Okay, so my sound is really, it was neither Canadian nor it was Jamaican per se, right? But the whole idea is that it's a unique sound. And as I said to you before, instead of trying to sound Canadian or trying to sound Jamaican, I wasn't preoccupied with that. My sound, the things that are unusual, those are the things that stand out.
Yes.
Okay? And so my sound is unique to me. I have a signature sound. Okay? So try to find that sound in yourself.
Indeed.
Try to find again, coming back to who you are. If you really want to break through in life, be you. Nobody can be you like you. Okay?
I love the lessons. I love the lessons. Thank you so much. I mean, we are winding down, but one of the things I want to touch on quickly, because your entire life and career has been dedicated to your craft and to developing yourself. And as you shared earlier, following your calling and your purpose. For those who are unsure of what their purpose or their calling is, and I'm not talking whether they're young, old, or in between, how can they begin to take the steps to discover that?
Finding your purpose, right? Find out what your skill sets are. And then match under that skill set, you'll see a number of different jobs, and figure out which one you want to choose and do your best at excelling at it.
And lastly, as we wrap things up, share with our viewers or aspiring trailblazers perhaps some rules for success that you can share from, because you've shared your journey with us, or some of your journey, so some rules for success that they can use to transform their life no matter what stage or what situation they're in.
You individually have the power to do with your life as you will. Okay? But you have to understand, one, you have to be a critical thinker. All right? You need to think critically. A lot of people think, but they don't think critically. And I find that's one of the biggest problems. When you learn to think critically, to take things apart, you ask yourself, why am I doing this? How is this going to benefit me? Where is this going to take me? Okay? So you develop a sense of purpose. You start to act with purpose. So everything you do pretty much is, okay, where is this going to take me in relation to where I want to go? Okay. Secondly, accept responsibility for your life and yourself. Okay. Accept, it doesn't matter what it is. And when I say accept, I don't mean that you're going to like everything that's happening in your life. But if you accept that whatever is happening, I have control on that, or I'm part of that, or in some way, shape, or form, I invited that, then once you accept it, it means, what am I going to do now to change it? So you empower yourself by doing that. If you keep saying somebody else is responsible, oh, my parents is responsible, why this, and my parents why didn't that, or it's because of the government why this is not happening, or my friend why this is not happening, then what you've done is you've given away your power, because what you're saying is, well, it's tomorrow's fault, so what do you expect me to do? I can't do anything unless tomorrow. No. Okay? No. If you accept it, then what you're saying is, I can change it. Okay? Don't be afraid to assert yourself. And when I say assert yourself, I don't mean being aggressive. Okay? I mean speaking your truth quietly and clearly so people will hear you and say, hey, this is what I stand for. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. This is where I want to go. Okay? And finally, integrity. Always be in integrity with yourself. People say, well, if I do this, then I'm the only one who will know. But hey, that is where the biggest undermining of your mind takes place. Because you're, the only one who knows, and it's the only one that's going to play havoc with your mind. Because if you're lying to yourself, if you're not in integrity with yourself, you're going to undermine your ability to do. And it is as simple as, for example, saying, if you don't like something, say you don't like it. Okay? Because if you don't, then in your mind, you will know, and you will act out in ways that you don't even realize. So be honest with yourself and be honest with others.
Oh my God, I love that. And that is such a fitting note to end on. Be honest with yourself. be honest with others, be a person of integrity, take back your power, just be true to yourself. Thank you so much, Michael Anthony Cuffe. I really wish this was a longer program, but we'll definitely have to continue the conversation off air. Continue to blaze your trail, continue to inspire and to touch lives. I really appreciate you sharing on the program. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome, my darling. That's where you become a trailblazer, okay? Yeah, that's where you set your own path. Tamara, it was lovely chatting with you, and thank you so much for the invitation. And I'm so proud of you. You know?
Oh, thank you so much.
I was there. I spotted it before the rest of the world.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well,
thank you. Much appreciated.
You are most welcome, my darling.
Hey everyone, I am Tamara McKayle, producer and host of the Trailblazers series. Remember to hit the notification bell right below, subscribe, like, comment, and share. And join the Trailblazers family for weekly inspirational episodes every Sunday.